understand Zamani was only the first. First what? Name on the list.
I was meeting with, he's now become a friend, John Fox, who is somebody I knew from feature meetings. And we were talking about the idea of what if there was a sort of Whitey Bulger of crime, somebody who is a criminal but has lots of experience. Somehow I seized on the idea of a list of criminals.
What list? Let's call it the Blacklist. That sounds exciting.
I was working at Sony at the time, and they put us together, and so John and I then talked about the pilot story, and John did an amazing job writing the pilot.
Good afternoon. I'm here to see Assistant Director Harold Cooper.
Do you have an appointment?
I do not.
The next few steps worked out. Joe Carnahan was available and interested.
I think that John Bokenkamp did such a brilliant job of keeping the reader on their toes, and I think oftentimes we kind of dismiss the art of screenwriting and until you see it done so kind of effectively the way John was able to write that pilot episode. And I think just that scene where he surrenders as well at the beginning, I remember reading it, I knew exactly how I would shoot it. The idea of the monolithic FBI and this kind of shadowy figure in the foreground with the brimmed hat on. And I remember even Yasu Tini and I saying, you know, we did this kind of shot where we boomed down off the gray man and we just framed Red's glasses.
Must be good to be home again, sir.
We deliberately lowered an American flag to kind of half-mast in the background so it would be back there.
Yeah.
I just thought, well, that's the show.
Oh, we'll see about that.
And his first line, when he's asked, well, it's good to be home, sir, he said, well, we'll see, you know, which I just thought that's the whole, you know, that kind of encapsulates the script itself. We'll see.
He brought very specific talents, very cinematic, to the pilot that helped elevate the material in a way that you don't always get in a pilot.
I also had the assistance of some really talented people. I mentioned Yasser Tahita, the DP, but Ben Bray, who's the second unit and stunt coordinator, is such an ingenious guy. And you know, you got guys working at the top of their game. So all you have to do in that instance, I think, as a director, is be able to focus the energy properly. And that's what we're able to do. And so, you know, like that bridge sequence, I think that's a standout sequence in the pilot. In constructing that scene, and Jason Hellman, who edited that sequence, we really reduced it down to just its kind of like blunt force trauma.
Do you want to call your daddy?
Yeah, I want to tell him.
The initial setup, we're turning around and bam. And that abbreviation obviously also works for television because it is such a shorter, you know, it's a much shorter format. But I thought that that was a really effective kind of muscular way to bash us into the sequence, and also to do something that, you know, a kind of sequence that you don't often see on television, you know, just something that really felt like, whoa. You know, the sequence itself, as it was written, was a much more elaborate, they actually, you know, it was a drawbridge, and basically they trapped one of the cars in the drawbridge and began to hang it off the side. And there were these guys that rappelled down, or actually up from the water to grab the general's daughter and make their escape that way. And when you looked at it, just from a budgetary standpoint, we realized it's just not tenable to do. That's a big movie. But it was great because it was ambitious, and that's the way John wrote the whole pilot. It was interesting that shortly thereafter in Italy, there was a theft where they used almost the exact same. They used two armored cars crisscrossing to block the police. And I thought, okay, good. Either we inspired them or we were ahead of our, you know, we were ahead of our time. It was the function of a lot of storyboards, a lot of, you know, getting a big table, using little Matchbox cars and shooting that stuff. So we all kind of knew what we were doing. But normally in a movie, that would be a week-long sequence. We had 2 days to shoot that.
These men are gonna come and they're gonna take you.
Are they gonna hurt me?
They're not gonna hurt you, honey. I'm gonna find you, okay?
It felt like we had a lot of kind of creative latitude, especially John Bokenkamp, you know, when I told him, because again, you know, he created the show, and I think you always want to make that guy happy. And I kind of told him my approach, which is going to be to shoot it like a movie. Use wide-angle lenses and frame for 16:9 and do all these things that traditionally are not done in television. It was like being a pinball. You know, once that thing went, you were just bouncing around and trying to score, and that's what we're doing. Our dear sweet Megan Boone, who came in, and it was great because Megan started her audition and kind of in the middle of it, just, oh God, I'm gonna go again, and just without even asking permission, just kind of reset herself. And I thought there was something so charming in that, and vulnerable and wonderful in that moment where she just thought, hey, if I blew it, I blew it, but I'm gonna give it my best shot.
Ah, baby! How did you do this? Oh my God, I cannot believe we're gonna have a baby. This is exact. Tom.
And then of course Diego and Ryan, and it's funny that James was really the last man cast. There was a lot of other, names that we were messing with, and we kept coming back to Spader because we thought he just had this. James had the ability to take a character on the page and make it transcendent and kind of bigger than the sum of its parts.
If you want to capture Zamani, he is to believe I'm moving freely, in touch with old friends, staying in one of my favorite hotels.
You think we're gonna put you up at the Sheridan?
Save your Starwood Points, Harold. The Sheridan's not my scene.
If you read the Reddington character in John's pilot, he was this kind of studly, muscular. It looked like he just rotated out of Afghanistan with kind of the sidewall with the salt and pepper, and he was a very different character on the page.
You won't find the girl until you learn to look at this differently.
And how should I look at this?
Like a criminal. May come easier than you think. Shall I show you?
What James did so beautifully is he turned him into this kind of sartorially splendored ex-spy that was like coming back into the world, transitioning back to the world, and yet you realize, oh, he's never left. He could have played him as a very rank, kind of stock bad guy. And he chose instead to explore the more nebulous nature of Reddington.
You're gonna make a great team.
The stars align and you get that particular cast. It happens to, one, really like one another, and two, have great chemistry, which is, I think, a rarity.